Hello, powerful leaders, and welcome to a brand new first episode of the year. I am so excited to be back on the show and bring you some of the best content out there. I want to wish you an amazing, happy 2024. I can't believe how fast time flies. Oh my gosh. But I'm so glad that we're here. I'm so glad that we made it. This is a fresh, brand new start to work on your dreams, work on yourself, to grow, to learn, to become better. And this is what the mission of this podcast is to help you, bring in new perspectives and new stories and give you the best advice and tips and tools for you to become better. Because that's honestly the goal, is to always be 1% better each and every day. And I am so grateful that you are here, that you are listening. In today's episode, I am interviewing Talya. She's an amazing person that I met at a live event last year, and she's just a bright light in this world. She's a publisher and editor, she's a coach, a mentor, and she works with women to break free from their old patterns, overcoming fears, and creating new and positive life narratives, as well as helping published authors to bring their stories to life and publish their books, pretty much. So she does it all. She's amazing, and I cannot wait for you to dive in. So without further ado, let's hit it. Welcome to the Powerful Female Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Anna Patricia Bourgeois, certified business coach. I am here to help you up-level, generate consistent wealth, increase your confidence, attract dream clients, and master your mindset so that you can fully own your power and achieve next-level results in your online business and beyond. Every week, a powerful conversation will take place with amazing guests, or I'll share from my experience to help inspire you to start and scale the business of your dreams while being powerfully you. The time has come to stop playing small, stop hiding, and stop waiting. Now is the perfect time for you to passionately pursue your heart's desire as the powerful leader you were born to be. Are you ready? Let's do this. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Powerful Female Leaders Podcast. I am here today with Talya. Hey, girl.
Hey, how are
I'm
you?
I'm good. I'm so excited to have you on the show today. We met last year at a live event, and your energy was so like magnetic and warm and friendly, and we hit it off so well at the event. And I was like, I gotta get Talia on the show so she can share her story. So
Yeah.
yeah, feel free to tell us who you are,
Well,
what you do.
first, I just want to say I felt exactly the same way when you
Yeah.
came to me at the event. So it's all totally mutual, and I'm so excited that we get to do this because I've
Yeah,
been really wanting to connect with you the last few months. So,
same.
I'm Talya Pardo. I'm the CEO and founder of Phoenix Rising, and Phoenix Rising has two branches. There's Phoenix Rising Publishing and there's Phoenix Rising Mentoring. On the publishing side, I started out as an editor and I've added e-publishing to my services as well, e-publishing and marketing. So I can kind of get you from the story creation side of things, writing, editing, and then we can format and get your book onto online platforms and help you market it. And the other side of the Phoenix Rising mentoring is the soul mentoring and coaching side of things. And both of those, I mean, so I'll give you a bit of backstory. I spent about 16, 17 years as a children's librarian in Montreal. And then COVID hit right around the same time that I broke my foot and left my job. So I spent a year between surgeries and different physical ailments, kind of immobilized and having to rethink my whole life and while we were locked down, and like, how do I do this? And at the time, well, I had met my boyfriend, who's now my husband, but at the time I had been a single mother for like 7 years to two little girls. So I was also trying to think about ways that I could be home more for my kids because I had spent so many years working, sometimes 6 days a week. Like I was just working long hours and not home for them. And I really felt like this was an opportunity to try and find something that I could get the best of all worlds and kind of capitalize on shifting my career into something else. So I started with editing because I wanted to try to continue in with something I was very familiar with, which is the book world. And so I did some editing courses. I worked with a literary agency as an assistant editor to one of their YA agents for almost a year, and like that was the most incredible experience, and I learned so much. And I was like, great, I'm going to be a freelance editor and I'm going to start to work that way. And I can do that from home on my own hours. And I started doing that and I really felt like something was missing. Like my soul was missing something. And so, at the same time, I've been on my own healing journey personally from about the time, a few years after my divorce, where I really intensively have worked on myself and learned so much and grown. And I really felt like I was at a point where I just wanted to give back. Like I wanted to share what I had learned. I wanted other people to feel like I can make my life better. I can feel better about myself. I can change destructive patterns and habits about myself. And so I was like, okay, well, why can't I add in life coach? I was always somebody who really liked variety. So I can kind of juggle that with editing. And so I did my certification as a life coach. And what I realized is both of those avenues really take me into relationships with people and people's stories. And like that's really what it's all about. So it's either the story as a coach or you're helping a person, analyze and understand their story and their life story and try to rewrite or write a different, new chapter, kind of all of those lingos that slogans people can say, rewrite your story, start a new chapter, all of that, but really like to apply it to their lives. Or I can work with someone and help them literally write the story that they want to tell. My expertise is in fiction, and an editorial relationship is really very similar to a coaching relationship with someone. Like when you're working with an author, you really have to guide them into bringing out from within them, the best of the story and the best of the ideas. And the same thing goes with a coaching client, right? You really have to help them find the best of themselves and guide them through to their answers.
Yeah. So I love how both are so like connected, but they have different, purposes. But I also want to know like the name Phoenix Rising. Like it's such a
Mhm.
beautiful name. So where did it come from?
So that came really from when I was starting my journey of
Yeah.
self-awareness and kind of awakening to,
Mm-hmm.
these patterns that I loops of behavior that I felt like I was stuck in and I wasn't happy
Mm-hmm.
with myself and I was struggling with my kids as a single mother and things like that. And I started working with my own mentors who
Mm-hmm.
I still adore forever. And I think I came across probably a meme or something like that where it was relating the metaphor of the phoenix, right? Who's rebirthed out of the ashes of their own
Mm-hmm.
death, right? So you have the cycles of birth and death and rebirth, like death and rebirth in your own self when you kind of shed certain things about yourself and you learn and you grow and you kind of change, shift into a different, little bit of a different person. But also the metaphor of sitting in the fire, that was very powerful for me because it can be so brutal and so painful to be very honest with yourself and face the things about yourself that really need to be addressed or witnessed or acknowledged. And there's sometimes like nothing you can do but sit in it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you have to sit with those emotions but it hurts. So that metaphor too of fire sitting, of sitting in the fire. There would be times I would text a friend of mine, I remember, and I'd be like, I'm in the freaking bonfire right now. It's burning and it's awful, but then the Phoenix metaphor comes along and it burns away kind of everything that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't serve you
Mm,
Allows you to emerge stronger, more, resilient, with a new perspective. So all of that is tied into the
mm.
Phoenix Rising
Oh, it's such a
name.
beautiful name. I love it. And I love the symbolism and the meaning. But yeah, like if you're open to it, I would like to know like when was the last time you were in the fire and like what did you learn and like what was the lesson?
Ooh, oh goodness. There's so many. Like, which one do I even choose? There's so many. I mean, I find that I still continue to
Hmm.
go through those cycles. I
Hmm.
think that we're just more equipped.
Hmm.
As you learn more, you're just more equipped. You have more tools to cope with it.
Hmm.
So, I mean, there's even like times where I can sit there and guilt myself over past behaviors where when I was raising my kids, they were little. I was with my ex who was very volatile. You take on a lot of
Hmm.
behaviors of people who are toxic. So
Yeah.
I was very volatile. I had a lot of very, very angry outbursts. And like, I would just scream at my kids. I would outburst at my family. And there would be times where I would, when I started to be aware of that behavior and be like, that's just so not right, and like I'd feel so
Mm.
remorseful about it and try to make it up to them. And I'd have to sit there and recognize, like, it's
Hmm.
not the thing that that person did that got me angry. And that's
Hmm.
why I exploded. I had to recognize, like, that's actually a good example where I'd had to recognize, like, no, no, it's my lack of control over my emotions. It's
Mm.
my turning to anger instantly, and then examining, what is the anger telling me about? Is it making me feel not important? Is it making me feel neglected, unloved? Not good enough, like all of those things sometimes, right, at once. It doesn't have to be only one thing. Um, and so then it was okay, but then my reaction is so aggressive. Why do I have to explode that way? And again, it's like it's emotional regulation, but it's also self-preservation of like, well,
Mm.
I'm not going to let anybody make me feel that way. So I have to like hit
Hmm.
back 50 times harder. And so sitting with that and recognizing that like so many of the problems, if you want to say that, like I was seeing in my life were directly related to my own behavior, like issues with my
Mm.
kids and their behavior, or, disconnect from my parents or my brother, that I was having issues with. It's like, well, my own behavior contributed to that. And so that I think was one of the hardest fire sitting moments for me, is to realize, like, oh wow, it's so me. I can change
Mm.
so much of that if I work on my reactions, and stop, taking I had to take responsibility.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of self-responsibility and
Yeah.
looking at yourself in the mirror and like it's hard to be like honest with yourself and be like, okay, like this is
Yeah,
what's going on and like I gotta like start like taking accountability and
that's
changing and
right.
yeah, it's a big, big step. And so I mean, you help people with that in your coaching.
Yeah.
And I wanted you to share like a story of like a transformation with a client, like
Mm.
something you're really proud of in your coaching.
Ooh, okay. So there's two clients that are coming to mind that I'm thinking about.
Hmm.
There's one, she was a lovely, lovely single mom, little
Mm.
boy. I think he was like 3 or 4, and she was just having so much trouble, again, like with her
Hmm.
angry outbursts, with him. And we just, I just asked her to talk about, like, what does it make you, like, what is that outburst about? Like, what are you really feeling?
Mm.
When you kind of, we talk
Hmm.
moms go crazy, or like moms lose their shit. But like, what does that make you feel like?
Yeah.
And it came down to where she was just like, I just feel like I'm just not good enough.
Mm.
And then it related back to her own mother making her feel not
Mm.
good enough. And so once she started to understand the connection, and in coaching, like the thing about coaching is the client has to come up with their own answers. It's not our place to say, like, well, I think it's because of your mother. It's really just like, well, what does it make you think of? Like, what other situations did you feel that way? And so once she realized that she was really projecting that feeling that she used to have onto her son. The next few sessions, she was telling me, she's like, I've really started to be able to pull back. And like, even if he's
Mm,
really making me feel that way, like the first step sometimes with anger is really about like, just pull yourself out of the situation, cut the reaction out in terms,
mm,
and like, you're still going to feel those feelings, but at least like, find a way to stop the reaction first. If remove yourself, that's the
mm.
first thing. And so she would say like, mommy's going into the bathroom for 5 minutes or whatever, just to give herself that
Yeah, some
disconnect from
space.
the,
Yeah.
yeah. And because sometimes also that reaction is on such a loop, it's such an automatic trigger, right?
Mm,
That like it's a button that gets pushed and then you're not even in control of it anymore. So it's like to give that pause, is already kind of helps you start to be able to rein it back in and get perspective. So she, by like 3 or 4 sessions later, she would get into our meetings and be like, I'm so happy. Things have been going so well with him. He's
mm,
wonderful. He listens to me now, and like he comes over to me and he'll be like, Mommy, no yell. I do this, like whatever in his like basic language, but like he was understanding her change in behavior too. And so,
mm.
you know,
That's huge.
yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, I love it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so like it goes so deep,
It
her triggers or anger. And
Yeah, yeah.
like there's always like a root cause, and it's like
Hmm.
looking at what is causing this.
Yeah. Yeah,
Ugh.
that's what it's about. Well, and I the word trigger is so overused.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't like to use it. So what I try to say instead, although I didn't just now, but like it's really like it's a wound resurgence, right? It's like it's an
Yeah.
old wound that just comes right back up to the surface and behaves as though it's happening now,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really, I feel like almost more explanatory of what's happening
Mm-hmm.
too.
Yeah, totally. Ugh, such a good conversation. I knew this
I love it.
combo would be on
Oh
fire.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, definitely worth the
So,
wait.
yeah. So I asked this to everyone who comes on the show, and I'm curious to know your answer.
Okay.
So for you, what does it
Mhm.
mean to be a powerful leader?
Ooh. Well, that's like, what does power mean, right?
Hmm.
So, what's a powerful leader? I think for me, a powerful leader is someone who really embodies everything that they're trying to teach, right?
Hmm.
And everything that they're trying to pass on to others. So, and they can do it with like so much authenticity that it resonates in the people who see them, right? Or who encounter them or who work with them.
Hmm.
Um, that's where I think power really lies when we're talking about that. It's in your authenticity, it's in who you are, it's in embodying
Mm.
everything, all of your values and what your work stands for. When like someone looks at Anna Patricia, they know exactly what she's all about and they're so
Yeah.
happy to like to follow you or work with you or to learn from you because they know that it's on solid foundations.
Hmm. Ugh, foundations. That's the key
Mm.
here.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. I love it. So, what would you say was like the biggest thing that you've learned so
Mhm.
far in your journey that you would love to share with our listeners who are maybe going through kind of the same journey that you've been on? Like, what's the most eye-opening thing you've learned during your time?
We're all just human. Like we
Yeah.
really have to give ourselves grace. And I've had to learn to do that for myself because I tend to be very hard on myself and very perfectionist.
Hmm.
And I expect a lot out of myself. And so when I don't kind of get there or if I falter, I make myself suffer, like so like that's been the hugest lesson on this journey that like the path is not a straight path. It's not a straight
Mm.
path. You'll have loops and dips and like regressions and like kind of go back and things also don't necessarily always go completely away. Like you may still have to revisit and acknowledge and deal with things continually. And the whole point I think is hopefully as you go on this journey, you will gain more and more tools and perspective and insight so when it does come
Mm.
back, or when you do encounter a new similar situation or have to address something, you're better equipped, right? And that's what helps to build your confidence, and that's what helps to build your strength and your resilience to keep going, I think. But with lots of grace for yourself.
Oh,
Really,
yes. We're so hard on ourselves. It's
so much.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And men and women in different ways, right? Like because of the
Yeah.
different standards we hold ourselves to, but like
Yeah.
women are, I find so it's hard to find a woman that I know that isn't hard on herself in some way. Like, yeah,
Yeah, we're held to such high standards and to have it all together. And,
yeah,
that sometimes like it's okay to like
yeah,
take a step back, to chill,
yeah.
to take care of yourself,
Yeah, take care of
basically.
cancel that appointment,
Yeah.
do this. That was a big lesson for me too to learn that like it's okay not to overwhelm yourself with a million things to do. And it's also okay not to like fulfill every single thing you set for yourself. Like that's okay. You can reschedule or you can put it
Mhm.
for tomorrow. Like that nothing is going to happen. If anything, all that's going to happen is you give yourself a little breathing room, maybe. That's
Mhm.
for your benefit and everyone else's around you too. So,
Oh yeah, that little breathing room, like this is where you get creative, you get new ideas, you
yeah,
refresh, more
yeah,
energy. So it's so needed.
yeah, 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 definitely.
Awesome. So do you have, like any last piece of wisdom, anything you truly want to share with our audience today?
Mm. I think it was really in that like that big lesson, like just give yourself grace
Mhm.
and remember that it's okay. I think as long as you move forward in your life with like good intentions,
Mhm.
and like goodwill and that you try your best, and you like love the people around you, like love the people who love you, and appreciate that and be grateful for the things you have, and the people in your life, then I think everything in the end like is okay. Like we'll be okay.
Yes. I
Yeah.
always repeat that to myself when I
Yeah.
go to bed. I'm okay. Everything is okay.
Okay. We're okay. We'll be
We're
okay.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
So I know people are listening to this. They're like, oh my gosh, Julie is amazing. I want to go follow her. I want to learn more about her services. So where can they go to do that?
So you can check out my website, which is Phoenix Rising Mentoring, and you can access both the publishing and the mentoring services on that site. I'm also mostly Facebook and Instagram. So Talia, now that I'm married, it's Talya Pardo Ricardo. If you look me up on Facebook and Instagram, or Talya Pardo Phoenix Rising, is all one word. You'll find me there. I do have a TikTok account, but I haven't been so active on it. Those are the main ways to find me.
Amazing. Well, go follow Talia. You won't regret it. She's amazing. Thank
Thanks.
you so much for
Oh,
coming.
thank you. Thank you for this. This has been a pleasure. I love this conversation. I can't wait to do more.
Yes.
Yeah, awesome.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Powerful Female Leaders podcast. If you love this episode, make sure to spread the message, leave a review, and subscribe. I would forever be grateful for you. I also want to hear from you, and I want to know your feedback and your questions for future episodes. So don't be shy, say hi, and send me a message at Powerful Female Leaders Podcast on Instagram. Until then, I'll see you on the next episode.